Welcome to the Delight Your Marriage podcast. You're joining me, Bella Rose, as I dive deep into the beauty, power, and truths about intimacy. Learn not only the practicals, but the heart behind what making love is all about. Delight your marriage. Hi, and welcome. This is Bella. And my husband is sitting here. And I call him Dario. And I am so excited to chat with you because I just hear so often from people, and you may be tuning in because you are in this spot where you've worked hard, and you've worked hard for years, maybe decades, and you're tired. And hope is a hard thing to come by at this point. And so my hope and prayer, and my husband's as well, as we sat here and prayed for you, is that you would not give up. And by the end of this conversation, you would have a greater sense of confidence and trust, and even just a fresh wind of energy for the next day and week and month, that God's doing things. And if you need help immediately with your marriage, don't wait. Get on a call with one of my clarity advisors. You can go to delightyourmarriage.com/cc and get with them. And if you haven't checked out the many free resources I have for you, I encourage you to go to delightyourmarriage.com/free, and then you'll get some really great content there that may help you specifically. All right, well, let's dive in. So I wanted to ask my husband here because he is probably the best encourager I know. He actually will have, coffee dates with our pastor, and he's the one encouraging that person. But it's not just that, but all around, he is just a natural encourager. And so I want you to benefit from that. Sometimes I will say things like, why doesn't everyone have a Dario?
Well, that's why everybody's working with you, so they can have one. But my wife was saying about sometimes I have a morning coffee with the pastors, because I hear that there's a lot of pastors that they have some problems in their lives, but somehow they feel like they have to be available with everybody that they're with them in their church, but no one asks them, like, how are you? And they had to put their feelings aside so they can prioritize everybody else's feelings. And I feel like that, for the work that they do and the study and practice in their families, I feel like, I don't know, there's not a lot of people that they ask, how are they? And we're supposed to spend, 45 minutes with my pastor. We ended up, spending like 3 hours of talking, and that's because we had to end the conversation because I had to go and get my kids from school. But the words that the people that they're struggling, I feel like it's just, it hurts to hear that what they're going through, and no one, I ask them, like even sometimes our best friends, if we call them our best friends, that we don't even mention some things. And I don't know, it's just sometimes whether they give us the wrong motivation, which like a lot of times is they give us suggestions that we didn't ask, and that ended up us more feeling, less. And I feel like, unless they ask, but we can't help it because we know how to fix their problems. But yeah, and just my wife, when she wakes up very early to prepare for the day, and always pray for you the people, husbands and wives, and the people that are helping her, that always prays for them. And I'm just feel like there's so much negativity in this world that it's so hard. I heard somewhere that it said that it's so hard to bring someone up. It is so hard because it is like so easy to put someone else down, like so easy. You don't even have to, I don't know, just say one word and someone just will feel the worst. But if you want to encourage someone, it's just like if they're not willing and they feel like they're doing all that they can and they don't see anything, and it's like sometimes I used to feel that way, that I don't understand. I'm a Christian. I don't say mean words. I think I'm a kind to everybody, and I follow the rules and I say the kind words, and yet I'm still feeling anxious inside. And it just, I don't know, sometimes it used to feel like that, and I want you to know that that's not it. That's not your entire life or marriage will be like that. Because, at the end, you will do all that work just to love your wife, or just to love your husbands. And sometimes we don't understand how to love that person. Even sometimes with my silly comments that I hurt my wife's feelings.
No, never.
Never. I don't know, and I feel like bad that what I said, and I don't feel like, I feel like something inside that is anxiety, that something's not right. And even when I apologize, I feel like, she still doesn't forgive me, even though she said like, no, it's okay, everything's okay. But I don't know, it just feels like I shouldn't say those things, but yet I did say it.
Amazing. Can I ask you something? If a husband was sitting in front of you and he was saying, Dario, I have done the right things. Heck, I have done the things Belah has specifically told me to do, whether it's in a program with me or on the podcast or what have you. Like, he's done it. He does it. He continues. What would you say to him when it's been a very long time that he's been doing it right? Do you have some encouragement for him?
Yes. I feel like if you'll be sitting in front of me and you will tell me like you don't understand why it's still the same thing and did all the work, I feel like, so what does that mean? You only have this amount of time for you to do all the work, so your wife, so you can feel love, or you still continue working, and like all the time, nonstop. Because it's like when you go to work and you come home tired, and it's like, oh, I'm done from work. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to feel like even hang out with the kids, with my kids. I feel like, but you wanted to have kids. That's why you have kids. And sometimes I feel that way. Sometimes I feel that way, and then I moments later I regretted that the way that I was feeling or even thinking about my kids. And I feel like if your expectations is to wait, like to of course I will say more kindly in front of me, but I'm just be more direct, that that I will say to you. So you keep working, and it looks like it never ends, and then you just give up, and then that's it. There's no more that you can do. I feel like there's you choose that person, and you'll do the best that you can to be with that person, and to share life with that person, and no matter what the problems are, you know. And if something happens, I pray to God that nothing happens to the extreme. But if that happens, if separation or something happens, that that in your heart that you did the best that you can. Does that make sense? That you know that you did the best that you can, instead of you don't care about that person anymore. I feel like you do care about that person. You will always care about that person, because that person knows you the most, more than your mom. Because he or she knows your weakness, and when you have fear or something. I feel like that person knows you the most. He or she has seen you cry. Not even your best friend seen you cry. Or your mom, except when there's something else. But my mom has not seen me cry for so many years, but my wife has. It's funny that my mom keeps when we see her, she keeps telling me that I should smile more, and I should be more kind to my kids. And I feel like I think I smile. I smile. And I think I am kind to my kids. And then my older sister heard that conversation, and she went and told my mom, because I wouldn't say anything to my mom. Otherwise, I will hurt her feelings. But my sister told my mom, she says, Mom, Dee is not the same as when, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. You don't know your son anymore. Who knows your son? And it's like his wife. His wife knows your son. She's the only one who knows your son more than you. But you don't know your son anymore. And I feel like that's true, that with your wife or husband, I feel like I don't understand that sometimes the husband is working really hard to love his wife. And some reason, it feels like it will never change. It will take longer, or you don't know when it will change. And it's just getting tired. And you feel like you're the only one who's putting all this effort in your spouse life, and it looks like she just doesn't care, or he just doesn't care. And I feel like as long as you know in your heart that you are the only one, you're the only one who knows.
Awesome. So a couple of things I wanted to pull out from what you said, honey, is first thing is, it sounded like you were saying that we can expand the timeline. There's not a timeline that things in your marriage have to change. That's kind of, a lot of times we get discouraged because we're expecting this amount of time for it to change, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's natural as humans to want expectations, like, how long do I have to keep this thing up? But I don't think that's what Jesus is asking of us. It's an indefinite sort of thing. Just like our walk with God, we're we don't know when our last day is, but I want to be all. I was reading about Matthew 24, talk about a chapter in the Bible that'll scare you. But it talks about being ready. Being ready. We never know when Jesus is coming back. We have to be awake. We have to be ready. And so in the same way, if we meet Jesus, it sounds like that's what you were saying, of only you know if you did your very best to love your spouse. Mm-hmm. Only you know. Another thing you said that I'm pulling out here that I love is just like when we get frustrated at our kids, it's not their fault. We're the ones that chose to have kids. That's on us. And in a similar way, you chose that person for whatever reason. And you get to stand by that. Even if now it seems like there's so many annoyances and frustrations and all these things. And then the other thing is, I love the insight around your spouse knowing you, just like better than even your own mom, even your own family, even your own best friends. Your spouse knows you. And it doesn't mean that their opinion of you is right necessarily, but they see you at your best and your worst. And that's an opportunity for us to grow in our relationship. And then one encouragement I had that's coming up for me is the shared experiences you've had, let's say your parents. If the relationship ends, there are so many experiences that become tainted with, oh, he was in that experience, or oh, she was there. And it's really sad because you're throwing away so many good feelings and good memories and good opportunities to remember your children's lives. And one thing I love about being parents together is that, when we're reflecting and having nice conversations, he'll remember something I don't remember, and I'll remember something he doesn't remember. And it's just astounding. Like, wow, God has given us such a life to live together. So, Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There's a quote that one of my clients actually shared with me is the seeds of depression cannot take root in a grateful heart. And I think Andy Andrews, who apparently has amazing books that I have yet to read, but he said that. And I think it's just so true when we focus on the good, when we can see the good in our spouse and see the good in our lives, we stop thinking all the self-centered thoughts of why am I not getting what I deserve and why am I not being served in these ways. And it doesn't mean I'm not on your side. I want God to radically transform your marriage, but it does take consistency. It takes a consistent, grateful, loving, selfless heart. When somebody is loved unconditionally, which is what I am asking you to do for your spouse, they respond differently. You respond differently to unconditional love, and it may take a long time. And, let's say instead of expecting it to take a couple months, you expected it to take a year or 3 years. Because when you're 80 or 81 or 80, 82 or 83 or 80 or 81 or 82 or 83, those years are not going to feel very long. But if you do the investment now, if you work on it now, God very well may surprise you at the transformation. And I got an email just this week from a gentleman who I worked with over a year ago. And he was in the Masculinity Reclaimed program. And they were separated when he started the program. And now, by God's grace, over quite a story, he radically transformed his life around Jesus. And so much so that he went on a mission trip, and God just radically changed his heart, and seeing these miracles and seeing people come to Christ, and he brought that enthusiasm home and continued the work of loving his wife well. And it took a long time for her heart to change. It took a lot of work, and he was consistent. He implemented and implemented and implemented. And he sent me this email that said, I've seen a miracle right before my eyes. And not only are they back living together, but fully committed to this relationship again. And they've got a child, and now they get to be the parents that they want to be. And they get to, their child gets to see a loving husband, mother and father. And they're fully, intimately united, and all of these amazing things. But he just didn't let the lack of everything make him stop the work, make him stop the movement in the way that he knew that God wanted him to in his marriage. And I don't say that except to say it might take long. It might take a while. Don't give this thing up. Don't give this thing up. She is your assignment. He is your assignment. Don't give up.
You know, there, when you said about they now can be the best parents for their child, I think I told you, or maybe not, our youngest kid, somehow he knows about divorce or something. And then he was cutting papers, and he says, Daddy. I said, yeah. He says, are you ever going to divorce mommy? And I was like, whoa. I said, no, never going to divorce mommy. That's why mommy is working really hard. Those people don't feel the kids. I said, why did you ask? And you know what he said? He says, I don't want you to divorce mommy. I said, no, that's not going to happen. No matter what, if I make, or she, or both of us make mistakes. He says, you know why? I said, why? He said, because it's going to be very hard for me. And, I felt strong in my emotions, with tears. I said, no, we're not going to get divorced. He says, yes, because I see there are some kids at the playground that I know them for a few years, that when they come in the playground and they're both holding hands and hugging, and see their baby, their kid playing at the playground, and then now just one.
Yeah.
And I see how that kid reacts.
Yeah.
And he, when there's an accident, and that kid, he sometimes I see that he's trying to be a strong person, whether emotional or physically, that even I see that he hurt, and I said, I run over there and I said, are you okay? He says, yeah, I'm okay. And I know if another kid or my kids had an accident like that, they will cry. They will cry it, and they know that mommy and daddy will come and hug them, and are you okay? And that's what my son, my youngest son, asked me. He says, because I see this kid, he mentioned his name. He says, I see this kid that it's not kind no more. I said, yeah, I don't know, but because he says that, he says, sometimes I only see the mom. I said, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but that's why we're working very hard. But when he said, I don't want you to divorce mommy, because it's going to be very hard for me. I was like, whoa, this guy has feelings, has emotions. Like, kids, I forgot that, we just say, oh, they're just kids. I forgot that those kids, they know, they have those feelings. They don't understand like fully, but I feel like they had those feelings about what it could be like if something happens. But that was I don't know, something that he told me.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think it's so motivating. And even, my parents divorced when I was in college. And even for that, it was, I mean, I still wish that it had panned out differently, just for the unity of our family, the joy of all of us being together. There's, so I agree with that. I don't know if you've watched The Tomorrow War, but I happen to love that movie. It definitely has, aliens and monsters and gore, but and a little bit of like make you surprised at some of the whatever. We like superhero movies. But there's a part of it that is so like, it's so wonderful because it's so pro family. And basically I'm not going to give away the end, but it becomes so clear of the pain that was caused out of a husband's lack of commitment to the family. Now, I know because I've worked with so many men that it may have started with a wife's non-commitment to the family, but the external world only sees the husband failure. They don't know the failure of intimacy maybe from the wife, and then he then responded to have an affair or addiction or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, regardless of whose, quote, failure started the whole thing, you are one party in this picture, and you can impact in a huge way. You can't force your spouse to change, but you can influence their behavior by you becoming the person you need to become in your marriage. And I think the main thing I want you to get from this is don't give up, and you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. You wouldn't be listening to this kind of material if your heart wasn't for your marriage. If your heart wasn't wanting someone to say, hey, buddy, hang in there. Hang in there. You're doing the right things. We're all, you might be doing one small thing and you might feel like there's a mountain you have to climb. Okay. It all is one step in front of the other. It's just one step in front of the other. It's one apology at a time. It's one conversation that doesn't turn into a huge blow up. It's one moment of breathing instead of biting back at that disrespectful comment. It's one moment of putting yourself out there and saying, hey, can we make love? Even though it's the scariest thing in the world. It's one little step in front of the other, one reach. That's what God does in those moments. That's how he reunifies your marriage. When you can do that scary small step because you love Jesus, because you love your family, because you want what God wants for your life, you're doing a good job.
I think that's it. No, but I just want to encourage you, husband or wife, that sometimes it feels like you're the only one who is putting all the effort. You're the only one who's apologizing all the time. You're the only one who cooks for her. You're the only one who, or she cooks for you, or you're the only one who brings flour, or saying those kind words, and he or she somehow doesn't respond right away. I feel like I just want you to know that will come.
Yeah.
You know, when you choose that person, um, you know, yeah, we make mistakes. Somehow, things happen. You know, sometimes we were growing by, I don't know, just a lot of challenges. And I feel like with that person that you say that you're staying is, and especially if you have kids, I feel like if you're counting the time, how many times do you apologize? Why you always um, doing all those things, cleaning up the mess or something? I feel like that if you stop counting those things, I feel like you lose track and you just focus on continue doing it to be kind.
Yeah.
But if you keep track on those, you'll end up observing yourself that you are the only one who's putting all this effort. But if instead, you can tell yourself or tell ourselves, this is me, and this is who I am, and I'm gonna continue to do my best, the best that I can. So, and that's it. I don't know how long it will take, but whatever it takes, whatever long it takes, this is me, and I'm gonna do my part, and I'm gonna do the best that I can.
I love it. I love it. And, I'll wrap this up probably with this last comment is, there's a book called Man's Search for Meaning, and it's written by a psychologist who actually endured the Auschwitz death camps in Germany. And he talked about, after that, and even working with clients as a psychologist, what he observed is what helps people the most in suffering is for them to realize and recognize there is a purpose in the suffering. There is a purpose in the suffering. And I think it's so true in our lives, because I think about the gentleman I just spoke about that went on the mission trips and really went towards Jesus. He told me about had he not gone through this the MR program by God's grace, but really invested in it and changed who he is before Jesus because of it, he wouldn't have gone on these mission trips, and 30 plus people wouldn't have given their lives to Jesus. So the suffering he endured for years actually caused him to get to a place where a program by God's grace impacted him to the degree that 30 people and some became followers of Jesus. Would he have gone back and said, oh, I shouldn't have endured that suffering? It wasn't worth the fruit. It wasn't worth all those humans that he was able to impact because he went through the suffering? I don't think so. So if you can dig into this suffering in a way that empowers you, that in a way that says, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to be committed. I'm going to dig in there. I'm going to become a superstar in your word. I'm going to start reading that Bible. I'm going to pray. I'm going to be that husband or wife that feels proud of themselves at the end of the day, that I did my best, that I loved my spouse the best I know how, and I learned and I grew and I became the human I needed to be to love them well, so that our kids have a great example of a marriage that they want to have when they grow up. If you can have that as a deeper purpose than just, I just want to make myself happy, and I'm not happy, which means I'm going to get out. That's the lie of the world. That's the lie of the enemy. But if you have a deeper purpose that even though I'm suffering, there is a reason. There is a reason that I can't see right now. But you know what? It says in the Bible, higher are the heavens above the earth. Are your thoughts higher than my thoughts? Are your ways higher than my ways? That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the God of the universe, and we can't see clearly. He knows why you're suffering. He knows why it's happening. Maybe you wouldn't have clicked on this podcast had you not been suffering. And maybe there was a nugget that my incredible husband shared with you that you needed to hear that's going to change your perspective to such a degree that you're going to treat your kids differently. That means that they're going to grow up and be parents differently. They're going to have ministries and friendships that are different because of a perspective you may have heard here. Like, what if God is doing stuff in your heart right now as a result of the pain you were in before you clicked on this podcast? So I hope and pray that whatever you needed from this would stir you to a degree that God says, well done today. And when you see him in eternity, he says, well done, good and faithful servant. That's what I want for you. So shall we pray? Do you want to do it?
I'll pray. Holy Father, I thank you for this life that you've given us. For all those husbands, those wives, and those world, God, that we're all just wanting to do is love one another. God, sometimes it feels far away. Sometimes it feels like they don't care about me. Sometimes it feels like they don't care about me. I pray that you be with them and they can feel you. Thank you so much for everything. For you died on the cross for me, for my wife, for everyone. I pray that we should start to be kind, to be respectful one another. God, when it feels like we're the only one who's suffering, I pray that and believe that that's a test that you're giving us for us to grow. God, that we were not kind to it, but now there's a wake-up call, God, that we just represent your children. I pray that to be with them, for those husbands and wives, God, that they don't measure the time that they're working really hard. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, honey. You're amazing. Thank you so much, listener. We just send you a big hug, and we love you. God bless. Okay, so at some point, my husband's going to listen to this when it's posted on the podcast. I'm not sure when. But when he does, honey, I'm going to sing one of our favorite songs. When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. There's so much they hold. And just like them old stars, honey, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? And I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love, still looking up. And when you're needing your space to do some silence, soccer playing. I'll be here patiently waiting to see what's the score. 'Cause even the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth. We got a lot to learn, but God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make a difference that I can make. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got. Yeah, we got a lot at stake. And in the end, you're still my friend. At least we did intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I've got and what I'm not and who I am. And I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.